Okay, so welcome. Thank you everyone for being here. Hi, Rhonda. Thanks for saving the day with our slideshow over the weekend. You're our hero. We'll jump right in. So we have Giselle White here with us today. And she is an instructional designer at NAU. And we'll kind of just give her the floor. And she has some presentation to share. And I know we all have lots of questions too. So thank you, Gigi. We're all ready to listen.
All right. Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I just want to preface this by saying that I've been with NAU for not even a year and a half. So, but it's been very action-packed the time that I've been here. So we'll get into it. Dr. Shelton and I were trying to figure out a way where I could do this and see my notes at the same time. And we weren't able to do that. And now I'm trying to figure out how to get to my next screen. Oh, there we go. Okay. So first of all, I'm a hybrid worker. So 2 days I work from home and 3 days I work in the office. It's pretty flexible. My reality is that we've been through a few directors, and so leadership has kind of changed, and that's kind of impacted my day-to-day. But basically, the first year that I was here, and I started in June of 2022, it was just really getting prepared for the transition to the Canvas LMS. I don't know if any of you here remember the BB Learn or how long you've been with the institution. But I have to tell you, your faculty have been panicking, a lot of them. And so a lot of my instructional design was creating infographics, creating video, instructional videos, instructional PDFs. And surprisingly, what I wasn't expecting was doing quite a lot of workshops, quite a lot of one-to-one consultations, a lot of presentations, a lot of helping people with presentations. So coming from a teaching background, and I came into instructional design as an ESL, EFL teacher, I was really grateful to have that teaching background to fall back on. And so it was just really a lot of human contact that I wasn't expecting. I was really envisioning just being behind a computer for a long time, spending hours making content, and that really hasn't been the case for me so far. My new day-to-day, now that the dust has kind of settled, is we're looking at ChatGPT because faculty are very nervous about that. And so we're looking at trying to create content that might be more complementary to ChatGPT, or dare I say resistant to ChatGPT. But we're right now having a lot of conversations about that. So that's my day-to-day. Yes, the next question, how do you evaluate the effectiveness of instruction? This is a great question. And to be honest with you, once the content leaves my hands, I don't really get a lot of feedback. I don't really get a lot of, it's kind of released into the ether and it's away from me. That being said, again, I am grateful for my teaching background, because rather than kind of hoping for that feedback or that moment of evaluation, I'm kind of being more proactive and thinking about my experience as a classroom teacher, my experience as an online teacher, what worked for me, what didn't work for me. And so I kind of come into the job with more of a visceral understanding of what content works and what content doesn't work. That being said, I would invite you to explore Kirkpatrick's model of evaluation. If you ever have the time, it's just a very simple 4-step evaluation model. I think the graphic is fairly clear, but it's very elegant and it's very agile. So you can apply it to different disciplines, different projects, and it just provides a really great foundation if you are looking to evaluate instruction, which ideally we all should be doing. But I'll tell you, in reality, It rarely happens. So, you know, maybe your reality will be different. That was my reality, or has been. How did you prepare for your current position? Again, many years of teaching. However, in 2015, 2016, I actually took some NAU classes when I was getting my master's in teaching English as a foreign language, and I took ETC. Oh, it was called Technology in the Classroom. Dr. Shelton, you can tell me what number that is. I think you're teaching that.
447, yeah.
There we go. 447. And another one, which was 525, and I don't know if you have this class anymore, Internet for Educators, it was called.
No, we don't.
Okay, well, this was back in 2015, 2016, so those were a couple of classes I took. Because I could not get those sort of classes in the English department, so they kind of pushed me over to the education department and said, try your luck over there. So I did. I know Dr. Armfield, I don't know if he's still with, yeah, okay. So he was one of my teachers, and he helped me with a practicum. So he was very supportive of me during my program. And I cannot remember the teacher for Internet for Educators. It was towards the end, and I was fried and just trying to get through it. However, I have a master's degree in that's here on the slide here, Online Master of Education in Learning and Design and Technology, in Learning Design and Technologies. This is from ASU, and I highly recommend it. Good things to say about it if you're moving in that direction. I think no matter what program you choose, if you're an online student, one of the valuable things about being an online student is your experience as a student, you know, thinking about things like, do you feel connected to your classmates? Do you feel connected to your professor? Do you have a sense of community? These things are very important as we move forward with online education, specifically. What's working for you and what's not working for you. So I would invite you to be very intentional with your time now, and really, you know, really take the time to think about how you feel about the instruction that you're receiving, because that's going to inform you later on as you're creating that instruction. So let's see, what else do we have here? Theory. And I suspect all of these look familiar to you, so I'm not going to get into them in detail. But these are theories that I've covered both with my master's in teaching English as a second language and also my instructional design master's. And, you know, it's good theory. It's something that's going to inform your content creation, and it's just great to have these to fall back on. I fall back specifically on Knoll's theory of andragogy. And I just think, you know, keeping in mind that teaching adults is not the same as teaching children, and knowing what the difference is just great to have in your toolbox. And if you're teaching children, it's good too, because it helps you make that division. So I teach adults, and I'm trying to remember to try to create courses and content that is for adults. And all of these are great. Backward design is great too. I have links in this presentation, and I'm going to share this out. Please remind me before I sign off to share the link to this slideshow, because all the links are in here. So if you're not familiar with anything, don't panic. I've got links. So just like a good instructional designer would, of course. So moving on. Have you worked in the corporate or other ID positions? And so I started, well, frankly, I would argue that anybody who teaches and does lesson planning and curriculum development and all that good stuff is an instructional designer. You are a teacher and an instructional designer. But I started officially With my program at ASU, our final semester was an internship. And we were tasked with going out and finding our internship. It was not provided. So a bit of panic for me in the first week of that semester. I think we had 5 days to hustle and do that. So I reached out to Coconino County, and they have a department specifically for volunteers. And they connected me with Stronger as One. And this is a great organization, and they basically teach the teachers. It's an organization of 2 very hardworking women, and they really needed help trying to kind of create video-based content that would keep them from having to do so much teaching themselves, just something that they can kind of send people to. Here's a YouTube page, here's a link, here's a video that tells you exactly what to do. So they didn't have to spend a lot of their day kind of doing that again and again and again. So just kind of going over repetitive tasks like that. So that was an unpaid internship, but I got credit. So then I created my first LinkedIn account, as you do upon graduation. And I did kind of the quick LinkedIn easy apply thing. And a couple weeks later, I was contacted by the Office of State Procurement. If you're not familiar with this flag, that is the flag of Maryland. So I was doing contract work, and again, teaching the teachers, creating video-based content. I was using Articulate Storyline. If you're familiar with the Articulate 360 products, this is another good thing to have in your toolbox. It's kind of the industry standard for instructional design. It's an authoring tool if you're not familiar. And that's what I did. I made a lot of videos. I made a lot of assessments. And, you know, it was an interesting experience. And the previous experience was interesting as well, because you kind of go into the job, and the people who have hired you or contracted you aren't entirely sure what they want themselves. And so it's not necessarily that you walk in and they say, we want this. There is conversation happening and negotiation and figuring things out. So, and here I am at NAU, and I spoke a little bit about what I do here already. But again, I'm still in positions where I'm kind of presenting ideas rather than ideas coming to me. And so it's good to be kind of proactive and think outside the box and have ideas and bring your creativity and speak up and, you know, use your voice, because sometimes people just don't know what they don't know, or they don't know what they want. And it's good if you're kind of more proactive about that. What resources can I recommend? There are tons of instructional, if you just type instructional design in YouTube, there's a whole bunch of people out here saying some wonderful things. I would invite you to maybe take a broader view of education in general, because there's a lot of conversation. Instructional design is very broad. And so you can focus on particular software or particular methodologies, and that's great and that's useful. But just kind of getting an aerial view and seeing where the trends are and seeing what direction we're moving in, I think is a great idea, just kind of seeing the bigger picture. And I've posted the late, great Sir Ken Robinson. He's done 3 YouTube TED Talks, all 3 of them excellent. I've put links to them in this slide. I think I've got a website, elearningindustry.com. I think it is. The link is in this as well. In case it's .com or .org, I forget. But lots of great content in there, all about e-learning. You can learn about e-learning specifically. You can share what you know. It's a great way to pad the resume. When you go looking for a job, just put some articles in there and share what you know. Let's see, I think Tim Slade has a YouTube channel that's specifically on e-learning. I think he has some very practical advice that he presents in a very easy to digest way. So lots of good stuff out there. And I put some links in this slide. So what's my time? How am I doing? Oh, okay, I'm doing okay. Important elements of instructional design. These are characteristics or things that I found that I've kind of needed in my job. Active listening is so important. You really don't want to waste people's time. And so it's important that you just, be still and be centered and hear what's being said and make sure that you are providing what's being asked for. Resourcefulness. You may not get the latest and greatest software. You may not get much. And so knowing how to make something out of nothing is a great skill to have. If you know how, you might just get Microsoft Word. And if you can make a really great PDF out of that, good for you. Or you may get PowerPoint, and if you're killing it making those PowerPoint videos and those slideshows, good for you. Because the Adobe suite is expensive, and not every organization is going to be willing to put that money out there. I'm just now getting it. And the first two organizations, they were like, nope, that's not happening. So that's life. A problem solver is a great skill to have. You may not have all the tools that you need. So just being flexible and being agile and trying to find ways around things is a great skill to have. Being an effective communicator. This is somewhat related to being an active listener, but as I said before, sometimes you're talking to a subject matter expert, or you're talking to a stakeholder and they don't know what they want, or they know what they want, but they're not sure how to articulate it. And so it's really important, you can actively listen all you want to, but at some point you have to ask questions, and you have to ask the right questions, and you have to try and get to the same page. And so that's, and another thing with that is that I've found is that people really have no time. And so they want quick communication, they want productive communication, but they don't want to take a lot of time to do it. So also being able to get that information in maybe a short period of time. Somebody may say, I have 15 minutes to give you. You have 15 minutes to glean and get that what you need to make your content. One thing I did with Dr. Shelton was I asked for a list of questions. And I'm so glad I did that, because I wasn't entirely sure what this topic was about. And I thought this was another Canvas instructional thing. So I'm so glad that I asked for questions, and then I had clarity. Oh, this is what we're doing. And so, asking people before you have that meeting, can you please send me a list of key topics that you want to discuss? And then you can really make the best use of your time. Being a logical, organized thinker. The last two, I think, just being a college student, you've already had to do this, right? You have to, read several articles and distill them to their essential truths and present them in organized paragraphs, and, turn these things in. The skills you already learned in college are going to serve you well as an instructional designer. You need to know how to distill a lot of information into smaller, manageable pieces. You have to take complicated topics and present them in a way that a layperson can understand. There's a bit of psychology there as well, because people panic when they're learning new things. People panic when there's a lot coming at them at once. So being able to just kind of maybe diffuse a situation, not just in your conversations, but also in your content, and creating things in a way that helps people kind of relax and are open and, you know, ready to receive what it is you're trying to send. And I think this is my last slide. What led you to be interested in becoming an instructional designer? As I said, I've had many years of teaching, and I just felt like this was a natural progression in my career. I've always enjoyed lesson planning and content creation before I knew what an instructional designer was. And I like creating content. I like presenting it to my class, seeing what works and what doesn't work. And when things work, it's great, especially when it's your own creation. You didn't photocopy something out of a textbook. You didn't pull something off the internet, but you actually made it yourself. It's a very rewarding feeling. And then you assess. You say, okay, well, that worked, that didn't work. And then you go back to your design process and you make those modifications, and you just, it's a nice kind of circular, closed system. And so I'm glad that I'm an instructional designer, but that I also teach, and I teach not just instructional design or Canvas, whatever I have the opportunity to. I teach web design and I teach other things. And so I try to always stay in the teaching game just so I don't lose that muscle, because that really helps inform my instructional design. And that's about it. I wanted to leave some time for questions, and I think I just did. So I will stop sharing. Yeah, maybe I'll stop sharing. And I see some stuff in the chat. And if anyone has any questions, feel free. And I'm going to put the link to this PowerPoint. It's in my Google Drive. And I'm just going to put this in the chat, so you all have that. So
Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. I just want to again invite, this is not a space where I want to talk. It's for you all to ask questions and things that Gigi touched on that you want to hear more about, or those of you who didn't get to contribute a question yet. Let's use our time and ask away.
I think Rhonda has her hand up.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I was curious, kind of in the different roles that you have had, what have you found the most difficult part in terms of trying to, especially in those, you know, you only have a short moment with somebody, or they're not quite certain what they want. What have you found the most difficult thing to contend with in order to get something that they're happy with?
That's a great question, and I've got an answer for you straight away. Subject matter experts are hard to nail down sometimes. And they're critical because I'm not the expert on everything, right? I need someone who is an expert on something to give me guidance. And, you know, it can be very hard to get that 15 minutes. Sometimes, especially, you know, if you're dealing with my internship, it was especially hard because they were so busy and they were just two people running a nonprofit organization, and it was a precious thing to get that time. And so I would say that's the biggest challenge, but also just, you know, trying to have acceptance that people are busy. Don't take it personally. Just understand that everyone's doing their best, and try to do as much as you can on your own. And maybe even, you know, be bold and try and be your own subject matter expert if no one is coming forward. So thank you for the question. Great question. Anyone else? I'm going to look in the chat really fast and see. Yes, building a sense of community. Yes. I was kind of concerned when I took my first online course, because that ASU program was my first online course, and I thought I'd be just kind of in a dark room staring at my computer screen, being sad and lonely. Hi, Julian.
Hi there. First of all, thank you for taking the time to speak with us, because we all have a lot of questions. One of the things you you touched on, or you touched on a few of the different places that you've worked or volunteered so far. What is your sense of this particular position as an instructional designer, as far as, are you usually working as part of a team with other instructional designers, or are you just by yourself and you're the one expected to kind of carry that whole burden? I imagine it's different in different places, but what's been your experience with that?
That's another great question. The internship, I was alone. So it was on me to do the heavy lifting as far as content creation was concerned. And again, with my contract job with the Maryland State of Procurement. With NAU, however, we actually have a team. And so I work with other people when we do workshops and presentations. That's very collaborative, because sometimes the presentations are 90 minutes long, and so somebody will take 30 minutes, another person will take 30, and so on. We've done Canvas open labs where people are coming in and asking questions just for a set period of time, so there'll be 3 or 4 of us there to field those questions. As far as content creation is concerned, it can be collaborative if it's a large project, but I'm finding that mostly when I'm building someone's course or I'm creating specific content, I'm doing that by myself. I may reach out to team members for a fresh pair of eyes to look at things, and I always recommend that if that's available to you. But I would say these days, most of my content creation I'm doing completely on my own. And I have to say, coming up with those ideas, I'm kind of doing that on my own as well. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see Shane has a hand up.
Hi there. Just like Julian said, thank you for taking this time to inform us about your experience and what you do as an instructional designer. I'm thinking forward as going through the interview process. What was your experience like? What type of questions? How did you prepare yourself to go through that? Because I'm a teacher myself, and this is would be like you said, just a natural progression into my career. So I just want to know how I can best prepare myself.
That's another great question. And it's, interviews can be highly stressful. And I would recommend, while you are able to do so, while you have the time to do so, to create your own content. Think about something that you're passionate about and create a YouTube video or a YouTube channel, or create some infographics. Just start creating content now, because when you go into the interview, it's nice to kind of have that in your back pocket. It gives you confidence, and it shows the interviewer that you are kind of more into that inner circle of instructional design. You're not just somebody with theory, you're somebody with practical, I can hit the ground running skills. And when you have that portfolio, it really makes a difference. And so the questions I've been asked, I'm trying to remember, maybe I've tried to block it out, I don't know. Do you have specific skills? Do you have PowerPoint skills, or do you have articulate skills, or do you have Adobe skills? Have you ever made video content, video editing skills? So there's certainly those kind of questions. But for this position specifically, one question that stood out was, do you have the people skills to work with difficult faculty? And I think the so-called soft skills are also very valuable. And if you look at the jobs out there, if you go on Indeed and you go on LinkedIn, good communication skills tends to be featured in all the instructional design jobs. It's one of the skills that's required. Because sometimes you might think that something should be done one way and something should be done another way, or whatever. So having great communication skills, great diplomacy skills, negotiation skills, compromise skills, those are great. But I would strongly suggest getting in there and making content now before you're paid for it, and having just the best portfolio you can. And I think that's a really great way to get yourself ahead of the pack.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And, oh, so many. I don't know if there are questions in the chat. I'm just kind of, do you have a portfolio you could share? I do. Let me go find it. And this was actually something I was tasked to create while I was a student. So I have to.
While you're looking, I'll chime in that they create a portfolio too. So we're in the process of doing that. In this class and in the other classes that they take in the master's program. So, but it'll be cool to see, yeah, what yours is.
I haven't looked at this in a minute, so forgive me, but this was done in Bootstrap. And so it's, I had some little animation in there because I was feeling super ambitious about myself. And so resume, contact, some actual projects that I worked on. Yeah, some tech skills that I have. Some writing. Good writing skills are important too, because there is a bit of technical writing involved in instructional design. It is not a technical writing job, though. A lot of people get confused about that. So, but some writing skills as well. And that's it. I can put that actually in the chat if you want to look at that in any depth. I should have shame, but I don't, so. There you go. For better or for ill, that's what I applied for jobs with, and it seemed to work for me, so. And I'm just quickly going through, and any other questions I might have missed, feel free to shout them out. What sort of things did you include in? Okay, so you can just sort of check through there and see. And I think, did I get everyone's questions? I don't want to miss anybody. I think, let me try, okay, some Wi-Fi problems. I think I got everybody, and I think we're at our time.
Yeah, we are. Thank you so much, Gigi. This was
Sure.
awesome. And I kind of like keeping it short and sweet. We got a lot of information. I'm sure we have things to think about and more questions. I know I could, many of us would probably love to see how you actually use LinkedIn. That would be a cool half-hour experience.
Not very well, I gotta tell you.
Me neither. We had an assignment in our class where we, tried to get our LinkedIn's in shape, but I know there's a lot of affordances of that platform too, that I for one am not using sufficiently. But thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. If we can follow up with you, it sounds like, if we have questions.
Yeah.
We can follow you on LinkedIn.
I'm quickly trying to get my LinkedIn link here to give you, and I'm not sure, I think I'm on the wrong computer, but I can email that to you, and you can just distribute that to whomever is interested in it. So
Cool.
After the fact.
Well, I'll go ahead and officially stop the recording. And if anybody did want to linger, and I know Gigi, you have had a long day, so you probably are done.